everybody, to Steve and Friends. Really looking forward to this one because I've got a chance to talk to my good mate, Andrew Denton. Mate, how are you doing? You doing all right?
I'm doing real good, mate. Real good. It's always a good day when I get to speak to you, mate.
That's very true. There's a bit of delay there, all the way from Glenhaven in Sydney. I thought he was in Delhi for a minute with the amount of delay going on. So you're in Glenhaven, Sydney. I'm in Brisbane City. You're just down the road from Hills campus. The sun is shining. The spring has sprung. We could be in worse places in the world, couldn't we?
We could. It's 32 degrees today in my backyard. The pool is ready for swimming. Yeah.
The pool. Don't tempt me with thoughts of a pool, mate. That's good. Summer is on its way. Well, listen, everybody, welcome wherever you are around the globe. Mainly a lot of people from Queensland, Northern Territory jumping on around Australia and different parts of the world. But let me give a bit of an introduction to this fine-looking fella here, Andrew Denton, because he's had one very full life, and it's going to take us probably about 4 episodes to go through any of this and do justice. But just to give you a little bit of an idea, Andrew started out as a plumber, worked for a multinational building company before moving into property development many, many years ago. You're now, Andrew, a successful business owner. Company's called Hills Corp. It's a property development company. You're director of other companies as well. You're married to the wonderful Susan. He was likewise a real good mate of Joyce and myself. 3 adult kids, all married, 3 grandchildren. Congratulations. Been part of Hillsong Church since 1991. You're currently an elder at Hillsong, the same as me. We're a little bit too young to be elders. I'm not sure how that works, mate, but
way too young.
There you go. One of the original kingdom builders at Hillsong Church. We'll talk about that a little later. Last few years, you've literally been to more campuses, Hillsong campuses, than Pastor Brian. That's literally true globally because you've been to all the small ones as well. You've therefore circled the world a few times over to inspire people, business people, pastors, churches. You've just written a book which is telling your story, and so I reckon we've got plenty to chew on for the next 20 minutes or so. But I'd love people to get to know you, not just what you do. And so let's just start with family. So the Denton clan, the Denton surname, is a bit of an institution in Hillsong Church. So tell us about your parents and your siblings and your childhood just a little bit.
Yeah, so my father was a pastor, and so his father was a pastor before that. And so we're 4th generation Christians on my wife's side as well. My father was on staff at Hillsong for nearly 20 years, and I have 3 other brothers, and all brought up in Hillsong Church. And so, yeah, we've been around a long time. The Denton name is fairly well known, certainly at the Hills campus, the mothership.
That's right. By the way, all your brothers, I mean, you're all big boys, so God bless your mum. But who's the tallest and how tall?
My brother Matthew, the second youngest, he's probably 6'4" and a bit.
And who's the shortest and how tall?
My brother David, he's 6 foot. He's only a shorty at 6 foot.
Only 6 foot. He's just a shorty. That's right. So God bless your mum. That's a great effort. Talk to us about family. Talk about your wife, Suze, because I know you're a great family man.
Been married.
We love your family. But tell us about Suze and your kids.
Yeah, married 35 years to Susan. Very, very, very blessed man. She's a Kiwi originally. She saw the light and moved to Australia. 3 kids, Jonathan, Mitchell, and Anna. Jono's married to Kimmy. She's awesome, American Texan girl. Mitch is married to Elisabetta, who's half Italian, half Nigerian. She's an awesome, beautiful, stunning woman. And Anna, my gorgeous girl, she's married to Ahsan, who's Persian. So we are a breed of nations. And
United Nations.
Dinner is always great at our place. And we have 3 grandchildren, Dallas, Daisy, and Sage. And I love being a grandfather like I know you do as well.
Absolutely. So for those that haven't had the blessing of grandparenthood yet, so what's the best role, being a dad or a granddad?
Oh, no, it's definitely better being a granddad.
Your kids are going to love that. Better. That's the only reason I asked you. That's right.
Oh, mate, I tell you, it's so much better being a grandfather. Yeah.
Now, you like sports. I mean, you wanted to be a professional surfer, I understand. Didn't quite go that route in life, but you love your motorbikes, you love your cycling, you do a bit of cycling, and not just for fitness, but you actually raise a lot of money through that as well. But the actual, how often do you get out?
I try and go to I go to the gym Mondays, ride Tuesday, gym Wednesday, ride Thursday, gym Friday, either ride or surf Saturday, and so I exercise most days. I take Sundays off. I know that at our age, Steve, we've still got to keep fit. We've got lots to do in this life, and I don't like exercise, but I got to do it, and I've just found some things that I actually enjoy, and I enjoy the camaraderie of those things, and
that's right.
And they always finish at a cafe having a coffee. So
good move. Now you've actually fallen off the bike more than one occasion. What's the worst? What's the worst one?
Oh man, yes. Well, look, I've had numerous. I went over a 15-meter cliff, and I've broken ribs, I've broken wrists, I've broken fingers, I've broken hamstrings, snapped hamstrings. I've had 38 stitches across my face, tore my nostril off. I've given myself a flogging.
Yeah, we'll try and find a photograph of that one because it's quite. I remember seeing something out there. Anyway, let's jump into your professional life. So I've heard you say in the past that you grew up thinking that money was evil. So how on earth did you end up becoming a successful businessman?
Yeah, well, I was brought up as a son of a Pentecostal pastor where poverty mentality reigned, unfortunately. And, I really was brought up thinking that, money was evil, but I used to think can't be right, because I had an uncle who was wealthy and he was a good bloke. But, honestly, it wasn't until we came to Hillsong and we got a much better understanding of what God's promises really are that, we had a change of mindset. And so, being under the right teaching, right visionary, and we're certainly blessed being that under Pastor Brian. That is what changed for me totally.
Right. So those years of building a business, from a plumber going obviously into business with Phil and others, your brother, was it success all the way through, and did you do things right from day one?
Oh, we did a lot of things wrong. No doubt, a lot of things wrong. I don't know about you, Steve, but I only learn lessons when I go through hard times, and usually I don't really only learn the lessons when they cost me, And so I've had some very, very expensive lessons, extremely expensive lessons. But the most important thing was I didn't quit. I stayed on it. And you can have a failure and quit, and a lot of people do. Well, you have a failure and say, okay, I'm not going to do that again, and I'm going to learn from that, and I'm going to keep going. And look, I've had many days literally on my knees crying out to God, saying, please take this away. But it's been those tough times that I've learned to do things better.
Yeah. Now, what about family life balance, being involved in business, especially your own business, the temptations to throw everything at it? How did that work out?
In my early 20s, I was completely out of balance, Steve. I mean, you didn't know me back then, but I worked 6:30 mornings or 10:30 at night, 6 days a week. I was completely out of balance. It was the stupidest thing I did. We went 8 years without a holiday even. But the problem was that I was striving in my own strength, in me. And I actually hadn't found my purpose. And when I finally let God take control, everything changed. And I put disciplines in my life. I put parameters in my life. I changed focus. And really what I did was I let God take control. And funny, when God took control, the promise is in the Bible, you can have it. He can have the all. I sit in front of you to say I've got the all. I've had the all because I decided to put God first.
Amazing. That's great. I think it was it in your 30s or early 30s that things kind of really changed quite dramatically for you. You want to talk to us about that kind of season in your life?
Yeah, I was 31, and as I say, I was just working ridiculous hours, and I came home from work one day, and my wife said to me, she said, "You know what, Andrew? I'm a single mother with 3 kids." So you're kidding, you know? She says, no, I'm a single mother with 3 kids. I said, "No, you're married to me." She says, "No, it doesn't matter. You're never home." And I said, "Well, I'm working for the family." She says, "Come on, mate, what's the point of working for the family if we don't have a family? We're not here, we're not around," and the whole thing. And I was completely lost, because I thought I was doing this for the family, and yet I was completely going in the wrong direction. And it actually really upset me. And it took me 3 weeks, just 3 weeks. I knew enough of the Bible, back then, Steve, to know I had to find my purpose. The Bible talks about asking, seeking, and knocking. I asked, seeked, and knocked real hard. It only took me 3 weeks, but in 3 weeks, I literally found my purpose in life and turned everything around. 3 weeks. And you know why it took me 3 weeks? It took me 3 weeks to give in. Like the first week I was at 50%. Second week I was 75%. Third week 95%. By that last weekend, all right, God, I'm fully surrendered. He's just waiting for me to surrender. When I finally surrendered, he said, "Good, I can work with you now." God's just looking for willing participants.
Yeah, very good, mate. I love the fact when you're talking about business, you say you've made many mistakes, had many failures, but that's when you learn. And even as you're saying there, with marriage, life balance, all the rest of it, you don't get it all right, but you had to become the guy who was still willing to admit, be humble enough, teachable enough to say, "Hey, I haven't got this right," and God steps in. So that'll encourage a lot of people. I presume over the years you've been able to have that conversation with plenty of people and shown there is a way forward, hey?
Oh, look, I don't know about you, Steve, but in my 20s, I knew everything. I thought I did. In my 30s, I realized I didn't know as much. In my 40s, I realized, I don't know that much. In my 50s, I know nothing. And the key here, as you said, is to remain teachable. Remain teachable. The more, that we can keep that way and keep flexible and spontaneous for God to direct us, man, it's going to make things so much easier.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay, let's talk about this phrase, kingdom builders, because it's the title of the book as well. It's something that in the Hillsong Church world, it's kind of a name that most people know about, whether they know everything going on, but outside of the church, probably not. So it's not like a biblical word. I mean, the word kingdom is, but it's just a phrase that helped, that Pastor Brian kind of presumably introduced years ago. You were right there at that time, that intersection between you and finding purpose and the situation in the church. So just tell everybody, give us an idiot-proof definition of what kingdom builders means, and then just tell us a little bit about that story, how it all started.
I think kingdom builders are a group of people who've just decided to go all in with God, who've come to this point in their life where they realize, I'm going to trust God 100%. And part of their reason for living is that they believe that God has blessed them to be a blessing and to finance the kingdom. Now, I know that my purpose in life is to finance the kingdom. And so who I am is a kingdom builder. I believe it's the pastor's role, the role of the pastors to set the vision, but it's the kingdom builders that set the pace for how quick we're going to achieve that vision. And the pastors need this group of people who are all in, believe in the vision, have their pastors back and say, "You go for it, pastor. We're behind you 100%, including our wallet."
Wow. And that's what happened those years ago. How many years ago was it exactly when
24 years ago, mate.
Change with Brian?
Yeah. 24 years ago when Pastor Brian came up with the idea. It was called 100 Kingdom Men back there. It was very sexist. But, because the only reason was we were at a men's camp, honestly, the one and only ever men's camp that Hillsong's ever had. And he came up with this concept of a group of people who basically wanted to go all in and would do whatever was required. And what I just tell people is that, the promises of God are amazing. They're amazing. And if people actually grasped it and actually started to believe it for themselves, well, it's incredible. I heard every promise in the Bible there ever was, Steve. I've been in church pretty well every Sunday of my entire life. I just didn't believe it. I just didn't believe it for me. I finally came to this point in my life and I said, you know what? I'm either going to trust God or not. Am I going to believe God or not? And I just decided on that day, 24 years ago, at that camp, you know what? I'm all in. I had no clue how I was going to do this. I had no clue at all, but I just took steps, and God said, righto, cool. I put my hand up. I was a willing participant, and God's grabbed hold of my hand 24 years ago, and He hasn't let go. He hasn't let go. Now, I've been around the mulberry bush a few times, but you know what? He's looked after me the whole time, and we're definitely blessed from it.
And here we are 24 years later, and you have to say one of the most instrumental parts of the growth and the expansion of our church, not just in Australia, but around the world, has been because there's been a lot of people who have captured exactly what you're talking about, that are not afraid of talking about money, but just get stuck in. And
I believe that the reason our
thank you for being part of the beginning, by the way.
Thank you. I believe the reason that Hillsong Church is a global church is Kingdom Builders, because our normal weekly tithes and offerings is is the normal weekly running of the church, but it's that over and above giving, that sacrificial giving, is what opens new campuses across, our city, our state, our country, and across the world. And, the Kingdom Builders play a big part in that.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I love the fact today, because we're likewise Kingdom Builders, I love the fact today it's male and female, it's young and old, it's businessmen, it's businesswomen, but it's literally just people in the church that just rise, even though they're never going to handle the big bucks, but their level of sacrifice is just as big. And together it's made a big difference. So it's fantastic.
Oh, look, it's absolutely everybody, Steve. I think that's the key. That's the key. Yeah. That doesn't matter. You can be a single mum. You can be a university student. You can be a CEO. You can be a pastor even. you can be anybody who decides, I'm going to trust God and take that step. And, it's just amazing. I as you said before, I've had the benefit of traveling all over the world, and man alive, I've got testimonies after testimony after testimony of how God has done some amazing things for people.
Well, let's just talk about that for a minute, because over the last few years, not only have you been the local guy in the Hills Church every Sunday with your family, but you've taken it upon yourself, taken some responsibility to help our other campuses around the world. So you've got on aeroplanes and you've flown around the globe, I don't know how many times. What do you do? Explain to people, you might be X amount of days, 2 or 3 days, with senior pastor, lead pastors, campus pastors. What do you do when you're in a city for 2 or 3 days?
Look, the least thing that I do is speak on stage. I may do that once in, a 3 or 4 day stint. The most thing that I do is I meet with couples more than not, but I'll meet with single people obviously as well. But, I just meet one-on-one for about 25 minutes, not even half an hour. And I have met around the globe, literally thousands, and I mean that, thousands and thousands of people, and given them some very quick, practical steps that they can take that helps them to go all in for God. And, people come to me thinking I'm going to talk to them about their finances and their money and the whole thing. It's not about the money. Kingdom Builders has never been about the money. That's just a byproduct of putting God first. I believe Kingdom Builders, mate, we should have the best marriages. I believe Kingdom Builders have the best relationship with their children. I believe Kingdom Builders should be fit and healthy. We talked about that earlier. See, what does your all cover, Steve? See, God says you can have the all, just put me first, right? Matthew 6:33. Yeah. And so that's what I do when I spend that half hour with them. And the cool thing, over the last 8 years, I've been to some of our Hillsong campuses up to 6 times. And I get to sit opposite a lot the same people time and time again. Why? Because they want to come back and tell me the testimony. And there's some really, really cool testimonies. And I've made lifelong friends now across the globe through this. And it's amazing to see the lights come on in these people's eyes when they find out this is who I am, this is my purpose.
It's wonderful. Now, we have actually had you, obviously, here in Brisbane. You shut up to the Sunshine Coast and the Gold Coast. You've been all over. When you were here, just for people's understanding, again, you did the one talk, but then I just want everyone to know this guy then sitting down with these couples. We booked in 30-minute talks with Andrew, and it just goes through the day. The guy will put 12 or 16, 18 hours if necessary, and just do that for 2 or 3 days before getting on a plane and doing it all over again. So for that, we're very, very grateful, mate. And people don't see all of that. They just think it's the speaking on a platform. But as you rightly say, that's a minuscule part. I just looked very quickly just before getting on this interview, some of the reports that people wrote to me about your visit. Phrases like, it was a game changer, changed my life forever, finally understood my purpose in life. I mean, that was a good visit, mate, when you can come and help people to that level.
Yeah.
So what's the sort of feedback you get?
Oh, yeah, look, I do. I love it. I love that because, you see, most of the people are total strangers to me when I first meet them, big ugly men like you and me crying opposite me because they find their purpose. I've seen marriages restored, when they've come together and found their purpose together. It's just it's amazing. I've seen people in dead end, boring jobs, broke, and in a short period later they're in thriving businesses because they've found purpose behind what they're doing and they've stepped out. And it's amazing. I think of a young man. I talk about him in my book. His name is Justin, and he'd come through 180 TC Teen Challenge. Only 6 years ago he was an ice addict. He was in jail. The bikies wanted to kill him. He was in debt to here. Judge gave him opportunity. Went to rehab. He got saved there. Went to Bible college, and he heard me speak. He walked up to me after my message, and this man is literally covered in tattoos all over his face. He said, he's a rough looking diamond, And he put his hand out and he said, Andrew, I'm in. He said, I've worked out, if I just give up coffee, I'm halfway there. I remember saying to him, Justin, right answer, bro. Right answer. You weren't looking for a reason why you couldn't do it. You're looking for a reason why you could do it.
Very good.
In those next few years, he's been married. He's got a baby on the way. He's a homeowner. I mean, and you go, how did that all change? Well, he's been a kingdom builder for the last 3 years. He's found his purpose. And so, for me, one of the biggest things I often say to pastors is, please don't prejudge people. Let people self-identify. I want to be a kingdom builder. I want to trust God. And it's amazing to see the testimonies. Yeah.
That's wonderful, mate. That's great. Well, let's finish by talking about the book. I can actually see one behind you up there, very strategically positioned, mate.
Very strategically placed.
Smart. Have you got?
There's a
one
shot.
There. There you go. That's a better. Well, according to Brian, he doubts whether that's a better shot.
He said the other night he looked like a bit of a thug, but he didn't show the picture at the back. The picture at the back has me laughing with my wife.
That's much better. Yeah, that's
so it is better. But
we all know that Sue makes you look better, mate. We all know that.
Much better.
All right. So very.
It's the subtitle here I want people to understand.
Okay.
It says how to live an all-in life that turns vision into reality.
We got it.
Vision into reality.
Well done, mate. So very quickly, just to finish with, so why did you write the book? And then where can you get it? Where can you get it?
The main reason I wrote the book was there is a massive need across the world. Well, we are seeing revival across the world. We really are. And for our churches to grow, whether we like it or not, it's going to take finance. And I have been run off my feet, literally, speaking in churches around the world. You know that, Steve, And All I knew was that someone challenged me a few years back and said, Andrew, if you don't write a book, you're being selfish. And I thought that was a bit rough, but he said, no. He says, you need to get this story out and write it in a format so that any pastor in the world can pick this book up, read it, and start their own kingdom builders. So firstly, I wrote it so a pastor could pick it up to start it in his church. But secondly, equally as important, anybody, an ex-drug addict, single mum, CEO, business owner, can pick this book up and go, that's me. Approach their pastor, say, Pastor, we need to start a kingdom builders. I'm all in. Let's get some more people. And I've even got it down here to the one-on-one questions even to ask. I've broken it right down, and the whole goal of this book is so that more churches across the globe will have this happening.
Right.
I'm having it translated into Spanish right now. Someone told me the other day, you can back this up because I know your Spanish background. Someone told me the other day there's more Spanish-speaking Christians in the world than English-speaking Christians. I'm looking at getting it done in Portuguese and German, and so there's a huge need, and I'm
awesome.
Really believing that it's going to have a great impact.
Great. So how do people get it?
Okay, the best way to get it, of course, on the Hillsong store. Whatever country you're in, if you're in America, just Google Hillsong Store /Kingdom Builders, and it'll come up. And if you're a pastor, if you're a church, you go to, there's a section there where you can get it for a bulk buy price. I want to make it as cheap as possible for pastors to do this. I didn't write this book for money. I don't need the money. I'm okay. God's blessed me. I'm all right. I've written this book so we can get it out there. And so I'm trying to get it out as cheap as possible. And so it doesn't matter whether you're in Europe or wherever you are, the book gets printed in Europe and sent to you there. And so it's made simple. Hillsong Store. Yeah.
Andrew, that's fantastic. It's been great to have a chat with you. So much more we could talk about. But I would like to say in front of you a massive thank you on behalf of all the Hillsong Church and the Hillsong world. Not everybody knows the amount of sacrifice that you have put in over the years. I think it was about 70% of your time was overseas in 2019. And the man hours are unbelievable. And, no charge, not doing that, just doing it because it's in your heart to do it. So a massive thank you on behalf of all of us that are the beneficiaries of that. And I know the pastors around the globe, because I know them, everybody talks so highly of all the work and the help that you've given in building the church and building the kingdom. And to be able to do that beyond the walls of our church is fantastic as well. We're proud of you. We love you.
Thank you.
We love Suze and the family. We appreciate everything you are and everything you do, mate. And I've never done this before, one of these interviews, but I'm going to ask you to pray.
Yeah.
Would you just pray 30-second prayer
of
blessing over people? Thanks, mate.
Totally. Father, I know that every single person who's listening to me here today, they have dreams and goals, but this is what I do know, Lord, that your will for their life, it's above and beyond anything they can ask, think, and imagine. Lord, you've absolutely promised to guide their path. Help them, Lord, to have their spiritual eyes and ears open, to hear from you, to be guided by you on everything they do. But God, give them wisdom in their marriage, wisdom raising their kids, wisdom in their finances, their health, everything they do, wisdom. But Father, I'm also praying and believing for opportunity, favor with man. Lord, the wealth of the wicked laid up for the righteous. I pray, Lord, you bless their socks off in Jesus' name and help them take that next step and the step after that and the step after that. Amen, amen, amen.
Amen. Thanks, mate. Amen. Absolutely love spending a few minutes with you. Everybody else, you look after yourselves. God bless. See you next week on Feed and Friends. You take care.
Thank you, Steve. Love you and Joyce.